What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the All Elite Wrap-Up Show. It is me, Tom, the OG Fig Kid, and joining me today, as usual, my
Live
tag
from the
team
No Cell
partner.
Studios, it is the ace of the tavern, Stephen ACEFIELD. Hopefully, knock on wood, we're not going to have any Wi-Fi issues. I apologize for last week. Tried our best. Tom tagged in. He tagged in for me, and I had to tap out. But we're here to break down what was a go-home show. Probably to forget, Tom, right?
Yeah, man. Woof, did that show fall flat tonight? But we'll get into that in a little bit. But before we do that, Ace, let's do some news.
Let's fucking go.
All right, let's start with the news that happened inside of the Dynamite episode. And the first things first, the Elite are coming back, and it's not the way we thought they'd be coming back. They announced it in pretty much a video package. So just to guys give you a hint of this, Pac said Death Triangle aren't stupid. They got on the mic following their match. He said they've seen the videos and said certain individuals want to come into Full Gear and beat Death Triangle. That's ridiculous. Pac said Death Triangle hides from no one, and then a ticking clock shown on the big screen in a graphic with Death Triangle against a blank side, but it's slowly revealed to be the Elite. We get the match graphic, the Death Triangle versus the Elite for the trio size of Full Gear. What were your thoughts on this? Were you rather it be a surprise on your end?
I mean, I don't think anybody was sitting there like,
who's this?
We all knew who it was. So like, it was crazy. What a wet fart of an announcement that was, man. That was terrible. The way they couldn't have come up with any better way to do it than that. I thought it was a total miss. I thought either just leave it as a surprise and let them show up, but to just do that and show it in a graphic, it was so meh.
I agree. I think like you leave it open-ended. Like you could have had Pac cut the promo, made it obvious to be the Elite, but sometimes the best surprises are obvious. Point in case, CM Punk. Everybody knew he was great. Everybody know they would take their cameras out, get ready for the big moment. But yeah, they ruined it here.
They did. I can't believe they did that. But I can't believe nobody was able to come up with anything better than that or convince Tony Khan. But you know, what are you gonna do? That's wow. It's just part of what was wrong with tonight's show.
You didn't have to give it everybody on a platter. Like you didn't have to find a way to tell everybody what was happening. Fans could have known it was happening. Surprise some people. Maybe it was a small percentage of them. And then at least you would have had a moment. Now we know they're coming back. They're still going to get a huge pop. People are going to be excited to see them. But at the same time, you could have had this surprise moment where some moments in wrestling don't need to be spelled out for fans. And I think that's what they wasted here.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I did not like it. I was like, I mean, I was excited at first because I thought they were going to appear tonight, and that got me excited. I'm like, all right, they're back, and then nothing. It's like, it was worse. It made it bad on two fronts. It just terrible.
You probably could have made it, like, it would have saved if they would have shown up, in my opinion. That would have been 100%. Better than if just showing the ticking clock. I didn't like how they did this at all, and I feel like we're beating it up, but I just rather it be a surprise at Full Gear, have them show up in person, and then you get a huge pop here for the live audience.
Yeah, I mean, you either do it tonight and they come out and say, hey, we want our titles back, or you just let them just show up. You don't, like, it didn't make any sense tonight. It's either a surprise or they show up tonight. I don't know. I think them showing up Sunday as a surprise would have been a little better.
Yeah, agreed. So our next news story here, we have MJF wants to make pro wrestling hot again. He sees big things to come if he wins the AEW World Championship. So MJF spoke with a local newspaper in my area, Newsday, with reporter Alfonso A. Castillo, promoting gear in the tri-state area. And he said he will challenge Jon Moxley for the championship. And MJF was asked what fans should expect during Saturday's championship match. And he said, expect history to be made. Expect a crowning moment of the guy who's going to bring professional wrestling back to the cultural zeitgeist. I want to make professional wrestling something people have no choice but to talk about again. I feel like we've done an incredible job, the brand of AEW, in doing such an incredibly short period of time. So he has to be that guy to transcend wrestling into pop culture. We always talk about transcendent stars. We always wax poetic about the time with Hulk Hogan and Roddy Piper and Stone Cold Steve Austin. In your opinion, will this moment at Full Gear have the same effect 10, 15 years from now as when Stone Cold won the title at WrestleMania 14? Because that's what they're really going for here.
I'm gonna give you a lame answer. Ask me in 15 years.
Hopefully we're still
I
doing
hope
this in
so.
15 years.
I hope so. I hope it is. I mean, I think if there's one guy in all of professional wrestling that can do it right now, it would be MJF. So the guy's got something. Again, I hate to paraphrase him, but he is a fucking generational talent. He truly is what he says he is. So if I had to lay my money on somebody that can do it, I think it's him. He's that entertaining. He's captivating. So I hope he's right. I hope he can do it. And just for the record, I'm not talking bad about the Elite. I'm just talking bad about the way they did it tonight, Tyson. It could have been done so much better. And yeah, Aubrey still is a terrible referee.
Yes. So the main thing with MJF here, like they have this spelled out for us. Same thing with Stone Cold. Like we knew going into WrestleMania 14 that he would be winning the championship. Everybody knew it. It doesn't take away from the moment. What will make this a moment that will be memorable is how they followed up. What happens with MJF during this? If it's similar to the action he got here to save Moxley, where it felt, in my opinion, we'll talk about the segment, it felt very similar to when Randy Orton was a face, where he didn't really know what to do with his hands. MJF is so used to being a bad guy. He came out a little bit confused on how to get the crowd behind him. He did the thing where he just got on the ropes and said, "Come on, everybody." And I think that comes in time. I think he's enough of a talented guy to understand how to eventually be a good guy, but he doesn't have to do those things. Would you ever see Stone Cold go to the ropes up and puts his hands drinking beer? But it just has a different feel. It literally reminded me of Randy Orton turning face in 2005 or it was 2004 actually, when he beat Benoit for the championship, and he didn't know what to do. And he was just like, "I'm so used to being bad guy." It felt very underwhelming as far as his first performance as a face here.
Yeah, but he didn't totally sell me as a face, like he's acting like a face, but that hand gestures made it seem like, oh, this is what a face is supposed to do. It didn't seem natural at all. So, yeah, I agree with you. And just to reiterate, I want to go back to something Nick Storm said. I hope everything went well at your doctor's, buddy. But he goes, been hearing stuff about Dynamite, but as if you don't have a segment with the Death Triangle and the Elite, you're trying to sell a pay-per-view here. And he's 100% right. It would have made more sense to sell the pay-per-view, to sell the Smash if they had them on TV. So.
Yeah, I mean, you have a good point there. If you would have had them, it would have made people pop and say them, because if you're giving away the surprise, you might as well have them in the ring right here. You might as well give it away on Dynamite.
Yep, and then build the match. So that's a great point.
So MJF continued in this news day.
I don't think you're wrong there.
So MJF continued in this article, and this was an interesting quote that I pulled as well. He said the fact that MJF, talking in third person here, has only been on TV for 3 years, as incredible as yours, I think it's very telling. And I think there's only greater things to come if I win the AEW World title, because I'm a guy who can wave the flag of the sport and do it very well. We've all said that he can be a great advocate for wrestling and take it to the next level. But again, even the promo here, like he seems like he should be a good guy. So he says, like, an incredible publication as yours, it's very telling that you'd reach out to me. I think he has to kind of get the lay of the land and how to be a good guy. I think he's not a good guy. It should just be, you're the same MJF. You're still going to do the things you do. You're going to rip on people and still have the attitude to you. You don't have to change the way you do things. That's why people are cheering you. And I think that's why the fans were a little bit confused tonight.
Exactly. It's a great point. They don't have to do the things. Just keep being you. People love it when he insults them. We've seen him do it when they were cheering him when he was a heel. Just keep doing that shit. Like, I think he did it. What state was he in when he's like, he was kind of a heel, but he's like, I still have standards, when he was talking about their sleeping with their wives and stuff. So like, that's the type of shit he should do.
Yeah. I agree. I mean, the same thing with Stone Cold. It's when Stone Cold turned face from WrestleMania 13, that double switch. What was really different about Stone Cold? It really was just the crowd reaction. He continued to beat up on authority figures. He continued to flip people the bird. He continued to do the things that he would normally do as a bad people were. Of course, you want to get rid of the cheap heat. You want to get rid of the stuff where MJF is ripping up cities, and you don't want to do that stuff. But as far as using the Dynamite Diamond Ring and all that, I would still kind of keep that in his repertoire and use it in a way to only bad guys, and find ways to, because even when Regal was a bad guy and then his final run when he was a face, he was still using the brass knucks. Ric Flair as a face will still do low blows and stuff like that. You don't want to take that out of your repertoire because it makes you who you are.
Yeah, I mean, I agree 100%. There's so much they could have done with him. Like even the way he said it to Mox, like I don't like you, Mox. I just did this so you're 100% for Saturday. Like I like that. It's showing his edge still. So
same.
they just
I think
gotta
that's
stop
a good
being
start
wishy-washy with it.
And let's
just
say, dude, he came out looking absolutely jacked.
It's way too early to turn him face or toy with being a face. Just a full-blown heel. Rock and Austin turned face when they became widely popular. MJF hasn't reached the audience outside of AEW. But Austin and Rock didn't do it at that point either. They weren't outside. I think MJF is going to be full-blown heel. I could see Regal turning on Mox and siding with MJF. Feels like 98 Rock to me. And I've heard other people saying the same thing. And I could possibly, for sure, see that happening. And I would not mind that pairing. Two heels like that.
Yeah, I kind of like that. You know, we just passed the anniversary of 1998, the Deadly Games, when Rock won the championship in that tournament, and he sided with Vince McMahon just a year after the screw job. They screwed Mick Foley, and they paid tribute to the screw job in their own little way. But that was the Rock's crowning moment, but it was as a heel. So it would be kind of cool to have Regal turn on Moxley. I like that idea because especially he's lost a little bit of momentum as far as turning face. We were all ready for it. He was white hot. But if you look at the reaction, I know Connecticut's not the biggest hotbed of wrestling to make people react. It's not Chicago. It's not Detroit. It's not New York, Philly. But they didn't really give anybody a reaction to the point where MJF, it was kind of quiet when everybody was attacking the firm. It was a weird main event segment where they weren't popping the way you probably expected them to.
But I also got to admit, like I found it very odd that whole way MJF came out and hit the firm. The whole segment was very weak. Like it just seemed it almost made me think
Cass in the head.
Yeah, like I'm just thinking, was that whole thing set up? Like, is he really working with the firm, and that's what's going to come out later? It just didn't seem natural. Like I don't know, something was so off about the way he came running out and did that to me. Did you feel it like was weird? Like all of a sudden MJF could beat up 6 guys at once.
Yeah, the whole thing was awkward. And if you're probably right. If you want to have Stokely and MJF be completely separate, you wouldn't have Stokely get involved again. So there's something there. Like unless you just want to bring Moxley and MJF together in the ring where they're both good guys and do the double switch or whatever you want to do. But having the firm in the ring just muddies the water if you're not going to have them be of use sometime in the main event.
Yeah, you're right. The Dynamite felt like Raw a couple weeks ago when the crowd was silent all night. Yeah, it was a terrible crowd tonight too. The crowd certainly did not help. Oh boy, young Anthony. I mean, I'm there for that.
The home of WrestleMania 11, Hartford, Connecticut. You know, look at WrestleMania 11.
Yeah,
not great.
It's so forgettable. What was the main event of WrestleMania 11?
So the next new segment here. Bam Bam Bigelow and LT.
That was the main event?
Yeah.
Oof. That was the match I went on last?
Yes, it was.
I didn't even remember that. Holy smokes. Wow.
It was a weird WrestleMania. One of the weirdest in the books like that.
Yeah. I would say I'd have to go back and watch it, but I should just pass. The firm is to MJF and Mox for Full Gear, what Sable was to Rock and Austin for Mania 17.
I think he means Deborah.
Oh, was it Deborah? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, Deborah was involved.
Yeah. It's okay.
Yeah, Deborah was married to Rock, and then Deborah had to manage Rock. I mean, Deborah was married to Austin, obviously, in real life. Yeah. And then she had Vince made Deborah manage The Rock for a minute.
Yep.
All right, next story. You ready for this one? Saraya talks about being medically cleared to wrestle and wanting a match with Sasha Banks. So she was on the Chris Van Vliet show. She discussed a wide range of topics to promote Full Gear. And she talks that she's going to be wrestling Britt Baker, obviously, and this will be her first match since December 2017. And the of note quote here was the Sasha Banks stuff. So she put Sasha Banks over and said, one of the first people I texted was Mercedes, Sasha Banks, because Sasha went through a lot too. She wasn't the one that got hurt, but she was the one who accidentally ended someone's career. She went through a lot mentally, like social media were cruel to her. Then it just messed her up in general because she was just like, I can't believe that happened. It was a freak accident. She continues to talk about how she leaned on her when she was injured and said she was very encouraging. I just like the fact that it kind of took all the weight off her shoulders too. and said she wants to wrestle her. She says, I really want to have a match with her. Like I wanted to have that rematch with her because we built a story, so I really wanted that, but she's kind of going down her own path, doing her own thing. You don't know where she's going to be. She has an exciting life going on. I'm very pleased. Like she's building her career outside wrestling. Really didn't tip her hand to know if she was going to be wrestling again, but she put her over huge. And to me, Sasha Banks is that woman that's out there that could really change the AEW division in a big way. We talk about Saraya's impact and coming in, and it is a big deal. But Sasha Banks, Charlotte, Bayley, those three are really they're the ones. I mean, Bianca too. Like those women, they're 10 times the star of any women we have in the AEW women's division. And Sasha Banks would be such a huge get for anybody, whether it be AEW to get back in WWE, even go to New Japan Pro Wrestling. Like she is a huge, huge star. People discount that.
She can't go back to WWE because she's never been released. She's
True.
still signed to that company and she's still listed on their roster. I'm kind of confused with all the trademarks she filed the other day. I don't know if you saw that story.
I did.
Yeah,
Statement, all that stuff.
She filed a bunch of trademarks for her name or character name or whatever it's going to be. She's announcing exciting things that's supposed to be happening this month. I think she said, I don't know where she's going to go. It would be huge for AEW to get her, but for some reason, I don't think she's leaving WWE. I think, and this is just me speculating, pure speculation on my part, but I think she feels, she knows what Triple H has did for the women's revolution. And I think she wants to be part of that. I think he sees how much he's pushing the women in WWE right now. So I think she'd want to continue with her friends over there because I'll tell you, Charlotte, who I thought might be a shoo-in to jump over to AEW, I don't think that's happening anymore with seeing what's happened with Andrade over there. So they should have treated him like gold just for the chance of getting her, because if they would have treated him right, they would have gotten her, in my opinion. So, and again, this is pure speculation, just reading the tea leaves. But I don't think Charlotte will ever go there now.
Yeah, bringing it back to the AEW scope, I mean, Saraya being clear, there's a huge deal. I mean, she mentions the first match she's having since December 2017. It's a long time. And I think she's going to be graded on a weird scale. She mentioned that in the Chris Van Vliet interview, and I didn't pull the quote, but she allegedly and essentially just said, people are going to look at this match and they're going to be critical either way. So I'm just going to take it in stride and I'm going to try to have the best match possible. Britt is a really good, I know she gets a lot of flack on the internet and from smart fans, but she's the best possible first opponent that she could have in this division, to let her just kind of have a match that would be of quality, but also with someone that knows what they're doing to get good reactions in the ring. And I'm excited for the match. It's a good start because the women's division needs a match that doesn't have just title implications. This is like you and I talked about it last week before my internet shitted out. It was very, very important for the division to have this match where it's not just about the championship, it's just about two big stars.
Yeah. Again, it's probably maybe the second biggest women's match in AEW that doesn't involve a title, because I think the first one was the lights out match between Britt and Thunder Rosa. And now you have this one, which could wind up being bigger. We'll see. But I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Saraya's Paige's last match was at the Nassau Coliseum, right?
It's very possible. I know it wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't expected to be her last match. So
yeah, I'm pretty sure it was at the Nassau Coliseum when the kick to the back of her neck sent her down like that. And so it's good to see her back. I'm excited to see what she does in the ring. I don't think she's going to hold back, but it's going to be fun. I'm expecting a good match. And again, first match back in 5 years, guys. Let's not be so critical. Let's just be happy she's back and know it's only going to get better. If you remember CM Punk, when he came back, his matches only got better, or it led to the dog collar match. The Punk match with Mox was actually an amazing match, going back and looking at that one. So it's a shame everything that happened after it, because seemed like he was finally hitting his stride and about to be the Punk that we loved years ago.
Yeah, it would have been a great swan song if it wasn't for what happened after. It would have been the best possible way to go out in Chicago as the world champion, but you can't take away what happened after. You know what I mean? That's going to be out there forever. And we'll get to Punk in a second, but let's go to Freddie Prinze Jr. He obviously has a podcast. We talk about him sometimes. He criticized AEW's booking of Bryan Danielson, and I think we say this a lot about Bryan Danielson, how he's used, and he pretty much said that Bryan Danielson has been underserved as far as a character and story goes. I feel like he's been underserviced in his matches. I feel like he's lost more matches than he needed to lose. And I feel like his motivation for wrestling hasn't been written as well as it could be written. I mean, tales all this time. We've been saying about AEW, there's been so much they could have written better. But I'm going to kind of argue back with Freddie Prinze Jr. here. I think a lot of it has to do with Bryan Danielson. I don't think he wants to win. You know what I mean? I think Bryan Danielson goes out there and he wants to put young talent over. And I think he'd rather lose to Daniel Garcia than have a championship run. That's what this run is about for him, giving back, planting seeds for the future. And I think that should be heralded as a good thing, not such a bad thing. But selfishly, as a Bryan Danielson fan, someone who wants to see him wrestle on a week-to-week basis, I want a championship run. And I think that time's passed because I don't know if we're ever going to get it in AEW. And that kind of stinks because he's been tied up in this JAS storyline for almost a year now. So what else are we doing?
I'll tell you, the way Danielson started off in AEW was fire. I loved that Danielson. Since I guess maybe the matches with Hangman, it's only been meh to me. Like it's been mid. It's been nothing great. They haven't done a great build for him. I like what we've seen lately, but he said he's come there to kick ass and he wants to win. It's come out of his mouth. I don't think he said he's not there to put young kids over yet. So I think he will get a title run and maybe he becomes the guy that does dethrone. If MJF wins this week, we don't know who's going to win. Maybe he's the guy that dethrones him. So, and I also think it says something to me that the fact that they didn't put the title on Danielson now, like while after the tournament, means to me he deserves a better run than what he would have gotten just to hold it from Grand Slam until now.
I agree, but like at this point, we're going to shoe in MJF. Say MJF, I think we're all in agreement that he's probably winning here. I think it's like a 95% chance that he's winning at Full Gear, barring any changes. And we know AEW is subject to change, but he's going to hold it for a year. And where's Bryan Danielson in a year? You know, like it's not, nothing's a given. I thought that was the perfect time to give him the championship, short run or not, to put his name in the legacy and have him there. I know Moxley's that constant you want there, but I think Danielson would have been a better fit. And maybe it's just, you know, I have obviously the lenses I'm looking through being a Bryan Danielson mark, and I want him to be champion. I can picture him with the belt. I thought it was ready made for it, but
I'm a huge Danielson mark. He's one of my favorite guys there. I did not want to see him just get a 2-month run that meant nothing.
It feels like Moxley's held the title long. I get it because Moxley he only lost the title for a day and came back. So it feels like Moxley's whole run has been extended.
Yeah.
But it's been a while since All Out. A lot has changed. It would have, if we went from All Out to Full Gear, I think it would have been a nice run. I know it's 2 months, but a lot has changed in 2 months. I think Bryan Dan, it would have felt like a significant run for him.
I don't agree there, but go back to what young Anthony said here. Why do people hate the build card to this pay-per-view so much? This is the best AEW's been since around Forbidden Door. And I agree. Like I thought the build for this pay-per-view has been much better than for All Out until that show that we'll call a wet fart tonight, because I love the card, but I just thought tonight's show did not sell me on one NSC the show any more than I already did. And then we have King of Hueso Mundo joining us again. Thank you.
Sanitizer, wash hands. Sanitizer, wash hands.
I do not think this was a great Dynamite tonight. As a go-home show, I was very, very disappointed. But yeah, the pay-per-view is going to be amazing.
I love King of Hueco Mundo. It's the best.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. I don't think Rampage is gonna sell us on anything more, but I guess we'll see.
All right, so finishing up the news, we have 2 more news stories, and Jim Cornette talked about the role of Jeff Jarrett should have in AEW, and it's like he's listening to the flagship talking about why Jeff Jarrett should be part of the brain trust and at least a sounding board for Tony Khan's ideas. And Cornette defended Jeff Jarrett. He did talk about some of the bad that Jeff Jarrett has done in his career and some of the bad stuff he's been involved in. But he explains how he believes the talent relations department of AEW is one that could use Jarrett's input the most. He defended him as TNA. People like to shit on TNA and everything that went on there. But Cornette reminded everybody he was the one. It wasn't Dixie Carter, for fuck's sake. He was the one that kept all those disparate, obnoxious, egotistical, and or motivated or unmotivated personalities in TNA on the same page most of the time for quite a few years. I would not only have Jeff's input in promoting live events, which is a strong point, finding local sponsors, local tie-ins, getting people in the building to buy tickets, but he also continued to talk about how he's someone who can keep control in the locker room and understands when it's chaotic. I mean, he's been the source of chaos sometimes himself, but he knows what it takes to keep a locker room together, and at least knows that he's dealt with all these different personalities. He was the guy in TNA dealing with Hogan when he's back there trying to book himself into whatever he's doing. He had Flair and Foley and all that stuff that went on in TNA. It was chaotic. For those that follow, I know Mike Belcaster followed it in full time. He was watching it consistently. He's probably the only one that watched it consistently from week to week.
I was gonna say that.
but everyone blames Jeff Jarrett for the booking, but Dixie Carter was the one that kind of like let it all disappear. So it's, as long as he doesn't have creative control and he's not on my screen every week doing major storylines where he's involved in the title, it's just another voice backstage where he's had experience in Memphis. He's had experience in WCW, WWE. He has all this world of wrestling experience that at least it gives a different perspective. Whether Tony Khan chooses to listen or not, there's another person in the room. And plus, he's involved in the business side too, which he's very familiar with that, building relationships and finding buildings in all different areas of the country they haven't been yet.
Yeah, I'm here for Jeff Jarrett. And listen, this is Jeff Jarrett's sink or swim time. If he comes in and does a great job, it really helps cement his legacy. If he comes in and terrible shit happens, it really will say a lot about his legacy. So he's got a lot riding on him here, you know?
For sure.
He really, really does. So, I mean, we don't even know what happened in WWE that once Triple H got in, Jarrett was gone within weeks. What the hell even happened there? Like, so it's a big moment for him, and I hope he succeeds. I like to see people succeed, and you know, Jarrett's a big name in this wrestling business. Jeff Jarrett is one of the most important acquisitions to AEW in a while. I'm excited for him as long as he doesn't become a non-factor after this feud. Yeah, I'd like this feud. I'd like to see where it's going to go, but I want it to mean something. I don't want it just to be a throwaway feud. Let it mean something. And what he says makes it sound like it is going to mean something. So let's see if it really does or not.
And bring Effie and get his goddamn win back.
Oh my God, you own that Effie thing.
I'm stuck on it. I'm the only one. Me and Effie are the only ones stuck on it.
Yeah.
All right, last piece of news, then we'll get into Dynamite. We had AEW Black, and he jokes about fighting. So I don't know if you guys saw this, but this happened, I think, what was it, over the weekend? So he was calling the CFFC 114 event on UFC Fight Pass with John Morgan from the Seminole Hard Rock Casino in Tampa, Florida. Obviously, Punk is still injured with his injury. He was joking about the all-out incident, and the quote was, "I've missed you. I've missed everybody watching at home. I missed the fights, but tonight I'm not going to do that." So he's still under AEW contract. It's the first time we saw him. He looked like he was happy. He looked like he was smiling and doing stuff. So I don't know. And there's something to what Anthony was saying, and I'm not a big conspiracy theory guy in wrestling, but MJF dropped a few Punk references in that promo, especially with Moxley laying there. I hope you're laying there as uncomfortable as possible. Then he dropped that devil line again. A lot of that's not by accident. So maybe there's something here where both sides got together and it's just like, fuck it, let's bring him back. He's going to come out similar, like, you know, Anthony said in our group chat. You haven't, Anthony dropped some knowledge here. And I immediately thought about that when he said, as you're laying there as uncomfortable as possible. Like, that's the pipe bomb. That's exactly what with John Cena, as you're laying there as uncomfortable as possible. Like, that doesn't get past us. And that's intentional by MJF. He's a student of the game. He wouldn't just say that unless he's trying to troll people, which is fair. He could be, but there might be some sparks for a return here. And whether people like it or not, like, Tony Khan wants return on investment. So you might bring him back if everyone can get along.
Listen, it's not the first time in the last couple of weeks we've heard references to the scrum. For weeks, we heard nothing about it. And all of a sudden, now we're hearing about it. It cannot be a coincidence. It's not a coincidence. There's something here. There's meat on the bone. They're still releasing new CM Punk merchandise. They haven't stopped. We just got CM Punk Christmas ornaments. And guess what? He's only one of the two people that sold their ornament out over on AEW Shop. That shows you his value to the company. There's still value there for him. If they could somehow work this whole thing out, there's money to be made with this story. And I still say, who doesn't know for a second that after the whole thing, Punk gets hurt in a match, we can't do an interim thing again. Punk's like to Khan, I got this. Let me go out in the scrum and cause some shit.
You lose me there. You lose me there.
It could be, though. You think there's 0% chance of that?
You lose me there. I like, but
0% chance.
I think there's 0% chance of that being the case because the fallout has been too detrimental to AEW's image. But what I will say is that there is some chance here that differences can be put aside. Time has passed. Time does heal all wounds. And I think if there is a perfect heel for MJF to have a long-term feud with, it's Punk coming back to a negative reaction, because no doubt he's going to be booed by this audience. And if you can get him in the building, have him cut a promo, it's the perfect scenario if everybody can play nice. If the Elite can go do their thing and Punk can come back and everybody can, again, get along in the sandbox, there's a lot of money to be made.
I just don't understand why it's so out of reach for them to avoid doing another interim champion because he got hurt in the match, that they did something really quick to come up with something different and to build the story and to build heat and to get people talking, because God knows people are talking about it. CM Punk, MJF mentioned it in his promo last week. I'm always overlooked. Did he mention the scrum? Man, there's so much meat on the bone here. I don't think I would not be shocked if that was just a plan by CM Punk to go into business for himself and say, let's do it this way.
If it was him, I don't think AEW would ever agree to that. I just think
Tony Khan sat next to this man during that media scrum, nodding his head, agreeing with him, even making excuses for stuff that was said and saying, I should have stopped that.
Because he's soft as milk toast, man. He's not going to come out there. Like, Tony Khan is just one of those people. He's sitting there. His face has completely been flushed over with absolute agony. He was in agony in that moment.
What about this? Great point here. It's odd to me that they haven't removed the scrum from their YouTube, but they won't speak on it. But which they are starting to. If it was WWE, they would have scrubbed it. It would have been gone within minutes.
But they're not WWE. They don't shy away from their history. It happened, and like, just because they didn't mention on TV doesn't mean it's not going to be part of what's going on. They still want to make money on Punk and return on investment. I was very hard on Punk. Everything that went down disgusts me. I'm not a fan anymore. He lost me there, but I do want him back. And I think there's a lot of money to be made in a program with MJF as an uber babyface. And you get this diabolical heel of CM Punk working reality into storyline. Anything is possible. We just passed the anniversary of the Montreal Screwjob. So Bret Hart eventually came back to go to the Hall of Fame. He worked a program with Vince. He shook Shawn Michaels' hand in the ring. Again, a lot of time had passed from 97 until that moment, but time does heal all wounds and money does talk. We had Matt and Edge in the ring wrestling each other when they had a real life discrepancy where his real life girlfriend was cheating on him with Edge and they used to be friends, and they got in the ring and they were wrestling in a program together. People can put their differences aside and they can be adults. It's for the betterment of AEW. This could be a game-changing storyline and blur the line. Then you would say you're right. We will never know because you can't prove one way or the other. And it's going to be, some people say Montreal was a work and some people say it was you know what I'm saying? That's where wrestling starts to become, it transcends just like what's, X's and O's in the ring. It becomes this like conjecture, and people want to know. There's a reason people want to talk about the screw job up until this day while we're waxing poetic about it, because it's interesting. It's fascinating what really happened that day.
And I'm sure you listened to Extra Cool last week.
Of course, I love those boys.
What a friggin' amazing episode they did covering that. Like, it was great listening to their views all this time later. And the fact they brought up, could it be a work? And it is 100%. Like, if you go back and you watch the video, the documentary,
Wrestling with Shadows. Yeah.
They're calling Triple H Hunter. Why are they calling him Hunter in the back when it's supposed to be like, there's just so many things that lead to that could have possibly been a work. I mean, I don't know if it's a work. I would say the percentage is very low that it's a work, but there are things that make you think, and if it is a work, God, go to your grave on your sword and never admit it was. Never admit it. But
my devil's advocate question to you, and not that we're looking to just talk about the Montreal Screwjob, but it is a good comparison. It's what would be the benefit of continuing to tell that story? The benefit of what the fallout from the Screwjob was the boom period of wrestling, the Attitude Era, the creation of the Mr. McMahon character, Stone Cold Steve Austin, blah, 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 all the way upwards. What would be the harm now in like someone having a tell-all book? There was way too many people involved in the situation for it not to be a shoot. There's way too many people that would. Wrestling is a carny business where people want to make money. You're telling me someone's not going to write a book and be like, hey, by the way, this will work. I'm sorry,
But
like
maybe
wrestling
very few. Maybe the only people who know about it is Bret Hart, Vince McMahon,
and
Shawn
Shawn Michaels
Michaels.
and Earl Hebner. Oh, maybe Earl Hebner thought it was a shoot too. We're going down that rabbit hole, Tom. You bring us down that rabbit
I'm
hole.
just saying it could be. I'm just saying it could be. So I'm just saying it's a possibility. That's all. And again, can you imagine CM Punk comes out and he does something sometime in the future in AEW, and all of a sudden here comes Tony Khan running out, yelling at him, "Get out of here! Get off my TV! You screwed me once. I never want to." Like, can you imagine what epic TV that would make?
It would be epic. I'm with you 100%. I want that to happen. I think that'd be the moment similar to, Bret Hart pushing down Bret Hart in the cage. And even after that was before Montreal, but that was the build up to Montreal. And then at Montreal, where he's spelling out WCW with his hands and destroying the announce set. And the next night on Raw, people tuned in. They saw Vince's black eye. Like that type of stuff, when you can blur it into the storylines and make it a part of the television, it's captivating stuff. People want to tune in for that. And that's what AEW's been missing. For aside from that Punk and MJF program, there really hasn't been that transcendent story outside of wrestling fans that want to watch.
Yep. And the fact that they're starting to mention the scrum and all that shit, it's like, oh baby, I'm ready for it. Just give
It's
it
a
to me.
possibility, and you know what? I'm gonna boo CM Punk, and I'm gonna goddamn love it. I'm
Dude,
gonna go
if
to
he
the
comes
event.
back as mad CM Punk, there's no better version of CM Punk than Punk when he's bitterly mad. So bring him back, baby. Bring him back mad. Let us boo the shit out of him.
And I think everybody would be willing to play ball. And
Oh yeah.
if you can get those guys, bad feelings aside, everyone gets in the room, and there's been a lot of time that's passed since September 4th or whenever the date was. There's been a lot of time where people, and there's a lot of professionals involved, get them in a room, have a conversation about what went down and about the money that could be made here, about a CM Punk, Kenny Omega program, or an MJF Punk program where Punk being the heel and the elite are involved, and you have warfare. It's like it goes back to the 90s with NWO, where you had you have these two sides, the AEW originals versus outside. It writes itself if everybody wants to play nice.
See, Nick Storm gets it. Nick Storm absolutely gets it. Listen, I'm just gonna bring up two CM Punk quotes, and then I'm gonna move on from this real quick. But the first quote I'm gonna bring up is when back at the first Grand Slam, CM Punk said, "I know you all want angry CM Punk. Don't worry, you're all eventually gonna get him, but be careful what you wish for." Okay, that's what we've got. And then the whole thing after the first thing with the Hangman Page thing happened, and then he called him out on TV, and he sat there, and they questioned him on that, and he's like, "I'm just trying to sell tickets." So
Okay, I mean, I'll get behind it if we eventually see Hangman and Punk in the ring again, standing,
yep.
and they're again.
How much more does a match between them mean now if it happens than if it was just a rematch and he never left and all this never happened?
100% right.
Now people would actually care. So let's do it. Let's fucking go.
All right, we'll talk about Punk some more later on, but let's go through Dynamite. And we open up with a really good tag match. To me, this is the highlight as far as wrestling goes of the night. Claudio Castagnoli and Bryan Danielson took on Chris Jericho and Sammy Guevara. This was an action-packed opener. This is setting the pace for the night. All four men got in plenty of offense. This really built the ROH four-way title match on Saturday. Awkward ending here with Jericho and Guevara. I'm not sure if you saw that. Obviously planted here because you want to have some dissension with them going into the match. Subtle seeds planted from them be on different pages going into Full Gear. I really like what they did here. Made ROH feel special. Control C, Control V, what we talk about ROH. We need a goddamn TV deal. But if this is going to be headlining what's moving into an ROH TV deal on HBO Max or wherever it is, it's in good shape.
I tell you what I hated about this match.
Go for it.
It's WWE booking, having all these guys in a match, a tag team match right before the four-way match at the pay-per-view. There's so much interesting stuff that's going to go on in this match at the pay-per-view with Sammy and Guevara in a match together. And on the other side, you got Danielson and Claudio in a match going against each other. I just hate when companies do, oh, yeah, there's and AEW's done it a lot lately, even with the women. Oh, we'll have a tag team match of a match that's going to be a four-way next week. Why do I don't like that booking? I never liked it in WWE. I don't like it here. I feel like it's lazy booking.
It's a fair criticism for sure. I just as far as all the guys in the ring, I love all their work rates. So seeing them
I
wrestle at
agree.
any given time.
I'm not saying the match was terrible at all. I'm not
No,
saying
I
that.
agree with you.
Okay,
I just think
okay.
I'm kind of looking past the booking. I agree with you. I think the booking is a little bit lazy. You could have done something more creative to build this up. But the storyline sort of writes itself with the BCC and the JAS all sort of tied together for so long. I think they're kind of pulling at straws to get people to care a little bit more. Like if you didn't care already, like what else could they do? They've been feuding for this long. Everybody involved in this feud, everyone involved in this match has been involved with each other for so long at this point. So it's just like, what else could you do? It writes itself. They almost like, what else could you do? I don't know what else, I don't know what else I could have done. Claudio versus Sammy with Jericho in the corner, maybe something like that.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm just reading all these great comments down here. So
is that intentional to call him Tiny Con, or am I misreading that from here?
I think he probably did that intentionally. I don't know, but if it wasn't intentional, I would take credit as if it was. What do you say?
But yeah, the one spot in the match we had Jericho and Sammy colliding. I do like the dissension between them. Ultimately, I'm not even sure who's going to be winning this match. That's what's really awesome about it. I don't see Jericho's run as ROH champion ending, but I could totally see Bryan Danielson being ROH champion, not pinning Jericho and leading that story into what would be an ROH program on television. I'm interested in this, and I guess that's all you could ask for with the ROH TV.
Yeah, I'm interested too. I'm curious to see like if we get. I think we'll get the announcement by the pay-per-view in December for Ring of Honor. But Nick Storm, I love seeing your comments, but get your face back on here. We miss you.
Yeah, we got a three-way thing. We can put you in right now. Pop in.
Yes. Well, I don't think he saw the show because he was at the doctor, but
okay.
I would welcome him in anytime.
All right. So we also had a black and white video of Darby Allin in a body bag being picked up by Sting, placed in the backseat of a car. Darby gets free and sits up in front of Sting and says full gear will be showtime. We cut back to Sanjay, Jay Lethal, Satnam Singh, Jeff Jarrett backstage as Jarrett say he and Sting have wrestled for 24 years and full gear will be the last time. Was this enough to get you to care about this match? Because it's been like zero build. It's been both of them doing things. Sting hasn't been on TV that much. Is this enough to make you care? I have a feeling it's gonna be like a party match, every Darby Sting match.
Yes, way to go, Nick. I don't really care that much, but honestly, like I don't really care much about the Sting and Darby thing anymore. I've kind of lost interest.
Even them being off screen didn't refresh it for you?
No, because I just feel like it's like the same formula with them every single time. And even being like it's off screen, back to the same formula.
Yeah, I mean,
we'll see.
It's a fair criticism, but that's.
I mean, I'm sure the match will be fun. I'm sure Sting will look great, but let's move on. Let's do something different with it. You know, just my opinion.
Yeah, I think the match will be fun, but again, similar to what I'm saying, I don't really want to see Jeff Jarrett active in the ring. I want to see him behind the scenes. So
I don't mind if he wrestles occasionally, but I don't want to see him being a part of mainstream storylines every single week.
To be honest, I didn't like seeing him wrestle in 1999. So like now that it's 2022,
it's so harsh to Jarrett, Double J.
I was pumped when China beat him in the Good Housekeeping.
Oh, that was awesome.
It was awesome.
I agree.
But all respect to Jeff Jarrett. But Acclaim premiering their new music video, which is actually amazing. Started with Paul White. Finally, we talked about it here. If you guys listen to the wrap-up show every week, we talk about how Tony Khan got the copyright for Captain Insano, obviously from the Waterboy movie. He was being interviewed by the Acclaimed as they made fun of guys dressed like Keith Lee and Swerve Strickland. It ended with the Acclaimed and Daddy Ass walking on the beach holding hands. This was epic. I loved it.
Hysterical.
I loved it.
I think that was the highlight of tonight's show.
I loved it. I was afraid they were going to have Captain Insano have a bit of a run, whether it be on Dark or something. I love that they use him and stuff like this. This was epic.
Yeah, this is great. This was absolutely great. And I'm sorry, if you don't like Scissor Me Daddy and all that shit, just don't watch wrestling anymore. If you can't have fun with that, I don't care who you are. It's just fun. It's just fun. Yeah.
I love anything and get the fans reacting. I'm all in. The fans are reacting to it. And you and I spoke about it last week or the week after or week before, whatever it is, that they have to time this right. It can't go on too long, but it also can't, you don't want to cut it off too short. It's like, you want to pull out of the stock market where it's at its all-time high before it dips down. With the Scissor Me stuff, you don't want it to get stale because that's what people are going to remember at it. You have to make sure eventually, I think at the end of the day, we're going to have Billy Gunn back with the Gun Club.
Oh, of
And
course.
you're going to have the Acclaimed as these Uber faces. They're probably going to do the Scissor Me stuff pretty much forever, but it won't have the same effect without Daddy S. And we're going to all look at this time period with Billy Gunn and the Acclaimed together. That was the golden age, similar to when Suck It first started. It's always going to come out here and there.
100%.
But I think we're going to remember very fondly for this time period. Like, remember when.
Yes, I agree. And I'll say this, like, I feel like the Sting and Darby thing has just gone on too long, and that's why Darby's kind of lost in a shuffle. He needs to go out on his own and start continuing his own career. Every pay-per-view, he gets stuck in a tag match with Sting now, and that's really not fair to him. I got to say, this AEW pay-per-view going to be outside the box 100% because, Khan going to shut down the haters on this pay-per-view. I hope you are correct because I will be sitting there with young Anthony and Matt from the Extra Cooler Show. So the Acclaimed is the best thing on AEW, and it's not even close. They are the most entertaining thing right now. Every time they come out, I pop, and you know what I love that they're doing, Ace? Every week, they have them on our TV lately.
Yeah, that's what they've been doing right.
Yep, the Acclaimed with Billy Gunn is way, way over. The crowd went insane for the Acclaimed. They do, and then we know what we'll go insane on Saturday. I feel like Mox. But what I'm not excited about, I feel like. Wait, what was I gonna say? Why are we getting a third match of the Acclaimed and Swerve in Our Glory? There's no need to have another one of those.
It's the rubber match. They're 1-1 right now. You have to have it.
But it's back-to-back pay-per-views.
I'm cool. Wow. I'm cool with it because
I'm not.
I think I want to save FTR and the Acclaim for a time and place that's bigger than this event.
Okay. Well, I think I'll guarantee you this. We're going to see the end of Swerve in Our Glory this Saturday in Full Gear.
Just to answer the question from Anthony, I am working Victory Pro Wrestling on Saturday, so I'm watching on delay. So I will not be at Full Gear.
Not be checking your phone.
I'm going to try not to. I'm going to be involved in the show at Victory Pro Wrestling, doing media and interviewing guys. Check it out. Jack Tomlinson, champion, defending his championship against Mike Anthony. Also, Desmond Cole will be defending his New York State championship against Pretty Boy Collins. So, obviously here on the AEW Wrap-Up Show, you guys are checking out AEW. But if for whatever reason you want to check out live wrestling that isn't in Newark, come to Bayshore, New York. It's going to be an awesome, awesome show. Can't wait for it. Victory Pro Wrestling always puts on banging shows. But next match here, we have Swerve Strickland taking on Anthony Bowens in a single match. Not much to talk about the match, aside from what I did catch, and I loved it, because Max Caster did a pre-match rap, and he was ripping on Jay Leno burning himself last week. I did love Tony Schiavone mentioned that he worked with Leno in 1998 in WCW, and he wished him well. I did like that they talked about working together, and I don't know, I popped for that because Jay Leno did have a big piece in WCW back in the late 90s.
Two things I hated: Jay Leno and WCW. Although I don't wish any harm for him, and I do hope speedy recovery and he's not in pain. So,
dude, and I love the rap. It's similar to when John Cena back when John Cena was cutting those raps, he did the week after John Ritter died. He cut a promo on John Ritter dying. Nothing's as a heel.
Nah,
John Cena was amazing.
I love Thugonomics, Doctor of Thugonomics, John Cena. I was there for that. His raps were hysterical.
So Swerve got the win here as expected. I love Swerve. I hope they go on a singles run here. I'm not sure exactly what division he falls in. I mean, eventually, I think in the right scenario, he could be in a main event. Not sure. AEW is way too top heavy, so I don't find him floating his way there yet. But an All Atlantic Championship contender would be amazing. I would love to see him in ROH as maybe even a world title contender when the time is right. I think it's probably time to break up Swerve in Our Glory following this match. I think the Acclaim should go over and will go over. And then you start the build towards the program, which is the Acclaimed FTR. That's the money-making program. And then that's where it gets challenging to book it. I'm not sure exactly where you go, but it certainly doesn't hurt FTR to lose to the Acclaimed.
Yeah. Ooh, that's a great point, Nick. I didn't even think of that. I love Caster in a tag title match with Swerve and Lee. Max doing a fireman carries to Lee was Super Cena-esque. That's a great point. I didn't even think of that.
He at All Out, he did the exact same Cena spot where he hit him in the head, turned around, and he did the Big Show spot from WrestleMania 20, where he lifted him up and his knees were buckling.
Yep.
He did the attitude adjustment.
Yeah, right. Oh man, that's crazy.
So we have a Samoa Joe interview with Tony Schiavone.
Boring.
What did you take from this aside from it? You took the words right out of my mouth. Boring. I do like that Joe's heel, though. That's the one thing I took away from it here.
I know. I maybe it's a bad take here, but I'm just tired of Samoa Joe. Like, he's doing nothing for me lately. Even like, I'm glad they got rid of War Joe, which was the worst fucking name possible. But I'm over Samoa Joe. I don't know why. I liked Samoa Joe. I used to love Samoa Joe. He's just not working for me in this company.
I think he's definitely a product of the booking and being on the back burner.
And this is what
One
I
thing
said.
I find interesting. Oh, go ahead, Tom.
I said I didn't want to see this last week. Wardlow versus Hobbs versus Joe. I wanted Wardlow versus Hobbs at the pay-per-view. Samoa Joe, let him go do something else. Let's focus on the AEW guys here.
Well, I mean, if you take, to me, again, beating a dead horse here as far as booking goes, take the ROH TV title off of Joe, have him get involved in this feud for the TNT Championship, and then you have a three-way feud that really means something. I don't know if it was coincidence or not. He came out of the babyface tunnel. Did you notice that?
Who came out of the babyface tunnel? What'd you say?
Samoa Joe came out of the babyface tunnel.
I don't even think those tunnels mean anything anymore. Danielson still comes out of the heel tunnel. Was it Death Triangle came out of both tunnels? I don't know if you caught that tonight.
I did catch that.
Yeah, so the tunnels. Let's redo the stage and just get one tunnel.
Yeah, just do the Cody entrance straight down the middle.
Yeah, I think so. Something. I don't know. Either go back to making the tunnels mean something, or fix it up. I don't know.
It is confusing. That is. I agree with you.
I don't want the triple threat. I'm dying to see Wardlow and Hobbs 1-on-1 for the title, baby. Samoa Joe has a title. He doesn't need to be involved in that.
All right, in the next match here, we had Death Triangle taking on Top Flight with the returning Darius Martin. Really good to see him back. And who would have guessed the six of these guys had a banging match.
Yes.
Shocking, full speed action. This is exactly the pace you expected. This was fantastic. I mean, they were on commercial, so that was my one complaint about it. They were split with some commercial break.
Yep.
But other than that, it was fantastic action. Great to see Darius back. I would love to see them back in the tag title contention. It sucks for them right now because there's so many stacked teams. I think before Darius originally got hurt, they were right there in contention, potentially having a tag title run, and who knows where they would have been. But Tony Khan was in a tough spot, trying to keep Dante Martin relevant while Darius was healing on his second injury. And we're at the point now where this is sort of Darius's like sink or swim moment where Top Flight as a team, how many more chances are you going to get? I know that they're very talented, but if Darius can't stay healthy, how much can Tony Khan put into the both of them and it sucks for Dante too, because Dante was putting those world title contender matches. He got a title shot against Hangman. You know, he's not winning. He's a tag team guy through and through. And without his brother there, he was like kind of left out in the lurch, but it shows how much Tony Khan really thought of him, where he actually had involvement in the booking while we're asking for Miro to be on TV and Malachi to be on TV. Dante Martin was on TV more consistently than anybody. So wouldn't shock me to see them get a little mini push here.
I don't think it's fair to criticize the guy about staying healthy when he was hurt in a car crash. So
True,
I'll let that one slide this time.
100%. But his second injury was not from a car crash, right?
Was that the first one?
Or first one? There was one of them that was just an injury.
This one was the car crash. So,
but at some point though, like circumstances be damned. It's like you have to be in the ring to be booked, you know. So
yeah, I agree, but let's give him the chance now. He's back again. If something happens again, then you really start to wonder. But no, let's. I love Dante Martin. Like if his brother, I think Dante Martin's kind of stuck in a place where they're waiting to put him in Top Flight and keep them healthy, and to give them a push. But how can they give them a push when he's not there? So if something happens again this time, I think we'll see Dante really get a push as a singles guy because he's so good in the ring. Like look what he did tonight. The guy's amazing. Dante Martin is one of the great young guys in all of wrestling today. So. I'm excited to see what he's going to do. I'd like to see Top Flight do well, but I think at the end of the day, down the road, eventually Dante Martin's going to be a single star anyway.
Yeah, and rightfully overshadowed. AR Fox looked really good in his AEW debut here. I think this is the first time he's ever been on TV, but if you remember him, he was in Evolve, like he was in the WWE system.
Oh, was he really?
Yeah, I saw him live when I went to Evolve show back in the day. Probably at this point, 4 years ago, time has been flying. But AR Fox is a very talented dude, well deserved to be here in a nice little spot here on Dynamite. But man, all the talent in this ring, Pac, Penta, Ray Phoenix, like these guys are top stars as far as any company. I mean, the amount of talent, but even just in Death Triangle, the three of those are more talented than a lot of rosters back in the day.
Yeah.
Like that's saying a lot. And we're blessed to be able to watch these guys on a weekly basis. And Pac is so underrated, man. I want a world title run with Pac.
Do you really?
He might be the most underrated wrestler that nobody talks about. He's flawless in the ring. Flawless.
I'm just not sold on the guy. Not that I don't think he's good in the ring.
Is it like, the size that bothers you from him, or
no,
is it something
not the
different?
size, because I've gotten used to the WCW, the AEW size guys. Like in the beginning, it took me a while to adjust to Darby and Jungle Boy, and I'm like, what the hell is it with like what? And now I don't even care anymore about the size. I know, like he never did it in WWE. He never got big there, and the same thing's happening to him here. And sooner or later, you just got to wonder if it's the guy and not everybody else. I don't know. And it's not that I don't think he's good in the ring, just something doesn't click.
That alone, yeah, two different things for me. I mean, I don't think the promo is exactly there. The presentation's been there. I like the Bastard presentation so much better than the Mighty Mouse thing or the whatever he was with the flying act where he came on and almost beat Seth Rollins for the Universal Championship.
Yeah.
Back in the day, that was a cool moment.
Maybe he just has to be broken away from Death Triangle. Maybe they need to separate and go their own ways. Maybe that's
something so badass about Pac, and he was a huge focal point of when AEW started. People forget he went over Kenny
100%.
Omega.
Yeah,
like 100%. He went over Kenny Omega clean too. Like,
yeah,
Tony Khan has big plans for this guy eventually. But
well, you think it's been 3 years now, so we'll see.
I mean, he was the first ever double champion, so like, it wasn't like he an All Atlantic champion, trios champion. It hasn't been like he hasn't been booked like shit.
I don't know. I think he needs to get away from Death Triangle. I think he needs to do his own thing now. Let's focus on his singles career.
I would love to see him in the main event.
It's kind of the same thing like Darby. Let's focus on them getting away from everybody else. Let's give them the ball and let them run and see how they can do it.
Yeah, I would cycle in Miro, Malachi, Pac would be for sure in my main event. You need those guys up there. And I like a guy like Ray Phoenix and Penta too. There's no and Bandido we're going to talk about Bandido in a second. Just the stuff that this guy brings to the table as a lucha and the size of a guy like Bandido. WWE had to be foolish to let this guy off the table. Like, how does WWE not go out and be like, we need this guy right now? Bandido was cookie cutter for WWE.
He chose AEW because they wanted him to go to Florida, move to Florida, to go to NXT, and he did not want to do that. And
they should have acquiesced. I mean, they also had a chance to sign him way back in the day where he was exclusive to Ring of Honor.
Yeah,
anybody had a chance to grab him.
I don't blame him for not wanting to sign up for that deal. It would have meant more time away from his kid and his wife, it said. So there's like a whole article about this lately, why he chose AEW over them.
What I'm saying is I blame WWE though. Like, I think they should have acquiesced to him and said, hey, listen, we'll give you an arrangement. We're looking for a transcendent Mexican star that can travel internationally.
Well,
we'll make an exception.
Here's the thing. We've seen what Bandido can do on TV. The guy's amazing. Is this where you start to think, is NXT actually hampering the main roster?
The current product of NXT?
Yeah. Like, if they're trying to send this guy to NXT and not the main roster, like, why is this guy even going to NXT? Why?
No, you're right.
He doesn't need to work on anything. We see what he could do. He should have been offered a contract on the main roster, and I think that would have gotten him to stay there
immediately and debut as a big player.
100%. And
they've been looking for a Mexican star since Del Rio fell into whatever Del Rio fell into.
Yeah.
Desperate for that guy to be in them when they go overseas and they go somewhere else. They need to have international stars. And I know Mexico is a huge market for them. They're trying to tap into that market, and they haven't had that guy. And Bandido is right in front of them. He's a big guy that can move around. Like,
I would have offered him the main roster spot and had him debut right on the main roster.
100%.
I think the guy probably felt insulted they were trying to get him to go to NXT.
Yep. Agreed. We talked about the post-match of the Death Triangle thing with the Elite Countdown in the news. So, guys, if you guys can see it, you missed the news segment, just know that they announced it's going to be Death Triangle versus the Elite for the Trios Championship at Full Gear. So they showed their hand. They're going to be having the Trios Championship match. It's going to be an awesome match. That's outside of the
no
way they
doubt about
present it.
that.
The match is going to be killer.
100% the match is going to be killer. No doubt about that, which means I was at the last Elite match and the next one.
True that. You were.
So how cool is that? Back-to-back pay-per-views and Grand Slam in between for me.
It's going to be so nice to have these guys back. I've missed them on my television. Mostly Kenny Omega. I just missed them. And I posted on my Instagram the other day. It was a year since I met him the day after Full Gear where he lost the title to Hangman. Cool. And it's just amazing how gracious he was, spending time with every person that wanted to have a conversation. He answered any questions you want. And this was following that match. He was on a plane, a red eye. And I know these guys get paid a lot of money, but he couldn't have been a nicer guy. He took the time to speak to everybody. And this was like, he's dealing with vertigo. He's dealing with the shoulder injuries. Yeah. He could have just canceled like everybody else. Like Eddie Kingston canceled, Malachi canceled, a whole bunch of the guys canceled because they couldn't make it. The flights were late coming out of, I forget where they were for Full Gear, but to make it to New York, it was a challenging trip. And by the time they landed, it was super late and he had to be there at like 8 a.m. And he was there smiling and hugging people. And he was the nicest guy ever. So I'm a fan for life. I love Kenny Omega.
Love Kenny Omega. I think he's so good.
So we, Bandito, and in the title eliminator tournament, I think we all kind of predicted that Ethan Page would be going over here. My bigger concern was the crowd seemed really dead for the first half of this match. But Page and Bandito worked really hard to get them into it. What are your thoughts on this match, Tom?
I love everything. First of all, I love Bandito. The guy's amazing in the ring, and I love Ethan Page. So I thought it was a good, fun match.
Were you bummed that Bandito didn't go over? Or
no, I'm an Ethan Page fan.
You're okay with Page going over?
Ethan Page is in my top 5. He's one of my 7 top wrestlers in my top 5.
I like how they're presenting Page here. I think it makes the most sense to have him take on MJF eventually in that first program following winning the championship. It writes itself. As a guy like with Bandito, and I know this is straight from the WCW booking, you can debut guys, and I know this isn't Bandito's debut on AEW's roster, but when you debut somebody, they don't have to win. And I think we're all just conditioned with WWE to have these guys debut, sign a roster deal, and then all of a sudden they're going over. They have to win like 3 matches in a row. But this is straight from World Championship Wrestling. Like they debut a guy, Juventud Guerrera or Psychosis debuts in the main roster, even Ultimo Dragon debuts in the main roster, and they lose. It's one of those things where it happens. Bandito kind of has to earn his keep, and I'm hoping that they present Bandito in a big way going forward.
Yeah. Tyson says with the Elite return, that I guess he's saying will be in the Elite returns too. How awesome would it be? Let's pull this right out of Mike Belcaster's book. If when they return, there's like a little flashback footage of them working in Target while they were gone.
I would fucking love it. That'd be amazing.
Ethan Page isn't even in my top 5 wrestlers with the last name Page. Oh God, I love Ethan Page. He's such a good heel.
Get him, rock him.
Yeah, I love Bandito had the crowd on his back. He will be fine. He'll be fine because he has the crowd. As long as he doesn't get booked like friggin' Andrade and Roosh,
Yeah. So we're going to be getting the return of Takeshita on Rampage. So Eddie Kingston and Ortiz versus Takeshita and Akiyama. Kingston said 1998, Hiroshi Haas and Jun Akiyama at the Tokyo Dome was the moment Eddie Kingston wanted to fight Akiyama, and he's waited for this moment his whole life. Rampage commercial, but better than a normal Rampage commercial. I love that Takeshita's back. Man, Takeshita is, to me, a future star in New Japan Pro Wrestling. He's a future star in wrestling. A young Okada, if I could say that. I think he showed a lot in his first run. I'm super excited to have him back, and I'm hopefully he has a nice little 6-month endeavor here in the States. I would love to see him back in GCW. I'd like to see him work PWG, do a whole bunch of stuff here. I like that he's back here in the States, back from Japan.
Yeah. Listen, King of Hueco Mundo, whatever, however the hell you say it. Andrade was booked like shit way before Triple H ever got in his ear before getting back there. He was always put in matches as the fall guy. He was never given a proper push in AEW. So that has zero to do with the way he was booked for his whole run in AEW. He was involved in they put him in a tag match with Cody against Malachi just to be the guy to take the fall. Like they always use this guy to protect other people's images. Like they never treated him right there. And I don't know why, because the guy could be a talent. Look at how he was used in NXT.
Andrade is he's cut from the same cloth as a guy like Bandito, where it just seems like a missed opportunity from both sides. I don't understand. And maybe it's an attitude thing. I know that him and
This is
Sammy got
so.
into it.
This is such an inaccurate statement. The whole thing with Andrade started way before Triple H tried to get him back.
Andrade was booked poorly from the beginning, and he was booked poorly on the main roster. So again,
yes, 100%.
Maybe it's something to do with the guy. You know, maybe like the issue with Sammy. I know Sammy gets painted in this picture where he is usually the instigator, but maybe there's something to the reason why Tony Khan took Sammy's side. Maybe other people are seeing the Andrade type of attitude problem that he was having. Who knows?
Yeah, and I don't know how much I blame Sammy when Eddie Kingston comes out and he says, "Listen, the whole thing with Sammy was my fault. He took the blame. He apologized for it. The whole thing, Sammy wasn't the one who went and searched out Andrade in the locker room. From what we hear, it was Andrade waiting for him. Apparently, Sammy never threw a punch. So I don't really know how much Sammy is the problem here. I think Sammy's kind of matured a little bit." Maybe he's got a little more maturing to do at this point. He's not that old. He's a young kid, but I feel like he's made strides over the years. So over the 3 years he's been there anyway.
Yeah, it's a good point. I mean, he has a lot of growing to do.
And the other thing to mention too is I meant to say this earlier and I totally forgot. I like how they're separating him from Ty on TV again.
Yeah.
And it's not all the time because that was much, much needed.
Yeah. So we have the AEW Interim Women's Champion Toni Storm defeating Anna Jay, and most of it took place during a commercial break.
Yes.
A lot of rest holds.
Yeah.
Not much to talk about, but obviously Toni Storm goes over here.
Yeah.
What were your thoughts on this? I mean,
it's not even worth talking about. Yeah, that's all it is.
But the post-match stuff kind of is worth talking about. Jamie Hayter came to the ring and they did a face-to-face. Looking forward to Jamie Hayter versus Toni Storm here at Full Gear coming up in Newark. For you, it seems like the right time to at least put the title. It's the interim title, whatever they want to call it, but it's the time to pull the trigger on Jamie Hayter. She's getting organic reactions every single time she's out there. It's time to really right the ship and get her in there. And I know Toni Storm has been a nice champion for now. She's done a good job for what she's been given, but the time is now for Jamie Hayter.
I agree. I don't think it's going to happen because if you saw the promo photo for AEW in London, this is the second time AEW has released a photo of something coming up in the future with their champions on it. And it has me scared to think that none of the titles will change in hand. I even had Mox with the title on it.
Interesting.
Even though MJF was in it. I forgot the other time they had announced something while a show was going on. And the image had popped up online before the titles had changed hand and the titles were on the new champions already. I think it was Swerve and Our Glory when they won the belts. And
right, yeah, would be correct on that.
Yeah, so it kind of scares me that we're going to see Toni Storm win and Mox win this weekend. And again, I don't think Mox winning is totally out of the question at this point. I think MJF is the favorite. I want MJF to win. Don't get me wrong. I think MJF not winning is not the right move. But for some reason, I have a fear that Mox is going to win.
Yeah, I'm here for the story. I hope they tell it the right way. And the moment's right, if they feel like this is the moment to crown MJF, because you only get one chance to have him win the championship for the first time. And if he is the guy you're building around, which we all believe he is, as long as he's signed through beyond 2024, if he's the guy you want to continue to build around, the initial championship moment is going to be shown forever and forever and forever. When you see Stone Cold won in the Hall of Fame, when you show his highlight package, they show that match at WrestleMania 14 where he spins Shawn Michaels around, stuns him. Mike Tyson makes the all too quick 3 count, but still, that's the crowning moment. JR, where he's like, the Austin era has begun, all that stuff. If MJF goes over here, it has to be the right moment because this is what's going to be shown. And I think the time is now to do it. But if they're going to do that double switch where Stokely is still sort of pulling the strings and MJF is in cahoots with him, maybe we get some side story where we're waiting a little bit for him to win the championship. But it seems like right now it's perfect. It's the tri-state area.
I agree.
People are going to pop for it. You're going to get a traveling crowd that's going to really want to see a title change. I think Moxley might even get booed. I think we may see that full double switch.
Oh, I think we might see that.
And Moxley may lean into it and be a heel because what we haven't seen in AEW is that heel version of Jon Moxley that is absolutely amazing that he can show that side of. And if he doesn't want to go on vacation, I would love a nice little heel run, or even coming back as a heel.
Yeah, even when he comes back, okay, now me and King of Hueco Mundo are on the same page again. You guys forget that Tony Khan, this is to the fans, and we'll get what we want in this pay-per-view. Plus, you know that Punk's promos are working. Tony Khan's diabolical plan is going as planned. So we'll see.
You had me in the first half,
Ah!
Hueco, and then you lost me again with this
So
work stuff.
again, if it happens next week and Mox wins, I'm gonna say I was right. I don't want to be right. I want to be wrong. I want MJF to win the title.
So our go home show ends with a Moxley and MJF face off, which we had Moxley coming to the ring with William Regal. This promo was really weak from Moxley. He usually has a much stronger promo than this. He stumbled over his words. He even got to the point where he tried to say the Brian Pillman thing, and it was good. It was a good line where he tries to rip on MJF for doing a modern day Brian Pillman thing. He stumbled over his words, so the effectiveness of and the delivery of it wasn't as great as it would be. And then we get the Firm hitting the ring, attacking Moxley, and then MJF's music hits, and then we get all that stuff we talked about. I guess break down this segment. What didn't you like about it, and all the other stuff that went on it?
We have live footage of what Kenny Omega thinks of the segment.
You owe everyone an apology. You owe me an apology.
So that segment was terrible. The whole segment from beginning to end was just terrible tonight. Ugh. It was such a letdown. You know, usually when AEW ends a show with something like this, it's usually good, or they start a show with a promo. It was just such a big strikeout. I don't even know what to think. And then Mox just forgetting, like, not only, instead of just going with saying Sunday and making it no big deal, he stops and he asks, when is the show? Saturday is Sunday? And MJF's like, Saturday. He's like, Saturday. It's like, what the hell is this? What am I watching? So
yeah, the main thing I took away from this was MJF's uncomfortability with being a face and him coming out and not really understanding what to do. And I know I compared him to the top of the show about when Randy Orton first turned face, where Evolution turned on him and he had that run as champ. And even Randy Orton in interviews will talk about that time where he didn't know what to do. He wasn't equipped to be a babyface yet.
I don't understand why him like raising his hands to try and get the crowd's reaction. Like, why is that such a bad thing to you?
It wasn't even just that. It's just his body language coming out. It seemed like he was like, it was like someone reading how to be a babyface and standing up for people. It just didn't have, he wasn't the MJF with the edge we've been seeing week after week. I want MJF, the same exact character, turned up to 11, but not doing, just attacking bad guys that people want to boo. It's just like, it's Stone Cold. Like Stone Cold wouldn't have changed the way he acted. MJF was he had different mannerisms in the ring tonight.
Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong. You're definitely not wrong there, but again, I don't think he was terrible, but I would rather him stick to be himself. So I agree with you 100% there.
This makes me believe, though, similar to that Josh Allen segment where he came out in Buffalo with the jersey. Maybe this is all ruse, like we're all talking about here, where he's acting like the good guy, acting like we should believe he's defending Moxley and he's not going to use the diamond ring. And maybe the Firm are really behind this and he's going to be a heel as the champion or not, or whatever. And he's going to be a heel going out of full gear. So that would be, it would speak to a lot of the woes we saw in this segment if that's the case. But if they're going in, he's full-blown babyface, they're going to build the company around him as this babyface. I thought it left a lot to be desired.
What if he doesn't use a diamond ring, but William Regal uses the knuckles on Mox?
I'm okay with that because he did say he's not going to be using the Dynamite diamond ring.
And William Regal kind of had a weird look in his face tonight too at the end. I don't know if you saw the way he was watching him. So
yeah,
we'll see. It's going to be, it could go so many ways. I can't wait to see which way it goes. And hopefully, I don't think we'll be let down. But their pay-per-views. I say it every single time AEW has a pay-per-view. It's always worth the $50 they charge for it. They only do 4 a year. I'm going, so I'm not spending the $50 this year. I'm there for it. I'm expecting an absolutely great show. But the thing is, Stone Cold did change his gimmick several times from being a badass to saying what to getting his wife involved. That is the thing. Stuff changes.
Yeah, but the Stone Cold stuff with the what was past the invasion. Stone Cold was already well established from 98, 99. He was gone for most of 2000. So, yeah, like over time, if MJF wants to change his character, but what got him over originally to be a face was this MJF character of who he is. And I understand this has to be nuance. He can't just be the exact same person. But as far as mannerisms go and the way he cuts his promos, I don't want him coming out and applauding fans. I don't want him coming in publications with Newsday, whether it's work or shoot, saying a fine establishment like your newspaper. That's not MJF. That's not what he would say.
That's true.
It takes away the teeth from who he is. I don't want him to be neutered. I want him to be MJF, but he's happened to be targeting bad guys. Like, his anger is not towards the guys we like to cheer. He's no longer ripping on a Brian Pillman Jr. He's not going after Bryan Danielson. He's not going after a babyface Punk. He's going after guys we just don't like. And that, like, Ethan Page is going to be getting booed. He happens to have the target of his ire is going towards Ethan Page. And that just changes who gets cheered and booed. And that's what makes a really over babyface like MJF. He's an anti-hero. He needs to act like it.
Yeah, I hope that's what they do with him. Even so, it's still called Every Evolving, and MJF has evolved far ahead of his time, which is a good thing for him and his young age. I don't know if he should have evolved that much this fast. Stick true to his character.
The one thing I will agree with, 100%.
Hey, Tyson, stick your hand in your pocket and you might find your package.
One thing I will agree with is MJF is young. He's still so goddamn young, still so much to learn.
It's like 24.
All things go well, and we say we get a 25 to 30 year career from this guy. We have so much left as far as evolving goes. Let's enjoy the ride with it. And I'm going to trust the process here. I'm going to take a little bit of Mike Belcaster's recipe of success here and just go along for the ride and understand that, maybe there's a bigger plan at play here. Maybe everything's not done in these little microwavable segments where it feels like there's no long-term plan. Maybe Punk is coming back. Maybe we're going to get the Elite and Punk payoff. Maybe all this stuff has meaning. I have my doubts because Tony Khan hasn't shown me any evidence that he is going to be planting seeds for long-term plans. But at the same time, this build has been so much better than All Out was. We can at least get
hell yeah. They might have dropped the ball tonight for the go-home show, but overall the build between the two shows is just what a difference.
100%. We at least knew the card going in. Everybody knew it was MJF Mox a long time ago. We knew that coming out of All Out. I mean, we really knew that Double or Nothing on it. I knew this moment was coming. MJF would be, and Tim, good call. We did say that before.
Like, we mentioned this earlier. There's been many
references as uncomfortable as possible, dude. And then also too, the biggest trick the devil ever pulled was telling people he didn't exist or convincing people he didn't exist. That's straight from that Punk promo. And MJF knows what he's doing here. So
and it's not the first time we've seen Punk do MJF do this. When they were starting, let's be honest, when they were starting the second MJF Punk feud, when MJF came out and cut his pipe bomb, he had references right out of Punk's pipe bomb then. So are they building back to that? That was a great story that was planned that we got dripped out of. So let's I mean, we know Punk's not ready to wrestle. They said his injury is 8 months, so I don't know what dropping these references right now is going to do, or is it something that's going to be continued to do over the next few months? But I'm more than ever, I'm believing that we're going to see Punk return to AEW.
Or bring him on TV. He doesn't have to wrestle. Like, he'll still get a reaction and come out. And how many weeks in a row didn't he not wrestle anyway when he was healthy? Like, just bring him out. And
when he was healthy, he was one of the guys that wrestled the most on TV.
So. True, but there's been weeks where he doesn't wrestle. So like you could still have him on TV cutting promos. And if he's, again, everybody is getting along, and I'm not saying they're going to be singing Kumbaya and everyone's eating Thanksgiving dinner together, but if they can get to the workplace and put their differences aside, it's pro wrestling at the end of the day, where controversy does eventually create ratings. And I think at the end of the day, that's what they want. AEW needs a transcendent, immersive story like this, what it could be, but everybody has to get along.
They all like money.
Yeah.
To me, I think this is a whole work. Punk will be returning because the MJF storyline connects to early Punk. And, Tony Khan is a big wrestling fan, so I keep saying a diabolical plan. I don't think you're wrong. I've mentioned it before tonight even. I think that they knew they wanted another Punk MJF story. And then when Punk got hurt in that match, they're like, what are we going to do? What can we do really quick just to not put an interim thing on him? It worked. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, if it is a work, Tony Khan is the most influential, transcendent wrestling booker of all time. But I don't think that's the case.
Yeah, but we'll see. And then if it is a work, it was all due to Punk. I don't think it was Tony Khan's idea.
It would be a crazy turn of events. And a state secret that nobody told. Like this would be
Yep.
like, faking the moon landing. And then,
Yeah.
that's a level of,
Well, here's the other thing that gets me. You get Matt Hardy coming out a couple weeks ago and saying, "Oh, I saw everything," and then a week later, well, I didn't see it. Like, what the hell? Shut up! Why are you saying
that
you
was
saw
weird
shit?
too.
Like,
Yeah.
what? Why? So I don't know. We'll see.
So before we go, we have the AEW Rampage show from Friday Live. Maybe Tom will be in the building. Maybe he won't. Eddie
I'll be at work.
Kingston and Ortiz will be taking on Jun Akiyama and Takeshita. Ricky Starks versus Lance Archer in a title elimination match. Hopefully Ricky Starks goes over here. And Hook defends his FTW championship against Lee Moriarty. And Athena taking on Madison Rayne. Not so much a transcendent go-home show as far as the night before, but this is more like a pre-show to Full Gear more than a go-home show.
Yes, I will not be tuning in. No, I mean, I'll be working, but I might come back and just watch the Takeshita match with Eddie Kingston.
Yeah,
just
I think they're probably going to open with that one.
There's not much calling my name on this show for the Friday night, and they wonder why Rampage keeps going down in the ratings.
Yeah, I mean, you got,
and this is a live Rampage. This is a live Rampage. Put a fucking show on. You got people spending money to go to the show. Make it worth them spending money.
Well, we went to Rampage right before All Out, and it didn't leave. I mean, there wasn't that much going on either.
But it wasn't as bad as this card.
I'd have to look at the card. You're probably right. I think because Hangman. Oh, they had that Battle Royal. At least they had that.
Yeah. So, do something. I mean, yes, people spend the money on tickets. I don't know if it's going to be any good dark matches, but damn, that what they announced for Rampage is not worth the price for the ticket.
Yeah, so, I don't blame you. I could go probably, but I'm not going to. I'll watch it on television. That's really
exactly.
You're not going to make me travel out to Jersey for 4 matches, and one of them being Athena versus Madison Rayne. Sorry.
And maybe Dark Elevation. So, because it's not only going to be an hour show, but come on, put something that makes you want to go there. Like, listen, they could have swapped out. They could have done the Death Triangle thing on Rampage. To make it more interesting, and then they could have put like one of those matches on the show tonight. So. Just so many different ways they can do to make Rampage better. Like a match, one of those matches that you would. What are the matches again? Tell me the matches again. I know that
Madison Rayne versus Athena, Hook and Lee Moriarty for the FTW Championship, Ricky Starks and Lance Archer in the Elimination Tournament, and then Kingston and Ortiz versus Akiyama and Takeshita.
So you put Athena on tonight's show, and you put the Death Triangle there. It's really not a bad 1 hour Rampage when you look at it that way, because you get Starks and Lance Archer.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes a difference. Just trying to think of things. And then you have the Elite actually show up, and then it really makes it worth going to it. So.
Yeah. Or you could have done the Moxley MJF segment on Rampage if you really want to go hard.
It's this Saturday night of Full Gear, Tim. So, yes, I'm sure we'll be seeing. I'm thinking Ricky Starks versus Ethan Page is what it's going to be.
Seems like the bracket's going to wind up being that, which is a cool match.
They've even ruined Lance Archer. That guy's such a worker. I hate that guy doesn't get. Like, he beat Mox cleanly on TV. Well, cleanly, it was a Texas death match or whatever. But Archer could be a beast. This guy should be used more. Man.
Well, rumor and innuendo has that Jake the Snake is off of oxygen, so he'll be back in AEW
No, he tweeted
television.
that. It's not rumor and innuendo. That came from Jake himself. So
okay, cool. I saw it on the dirt sheet. So
yeah, so happy to see that for him, because it was kind of depressing seeing him in those pictures. He was actually at AEW tonight, in the back. So I'm very happy to hear that one of our legends is back on his feet and he's doing well. So maybe it's the rebirth of Lance Archer. So
the package with Jake and Archer was a match made in heaven, man. That was
he was
they were
so
made
good,
for each
Jake.
other. He took Archer to the next level, and
he did.
Not that Archer's going to be your world champion, but like you said, he was presented as a big bad where they need a whole bunch of them on the show, and you got a whole bunch of big guys that could be stumbling blocks for these baby faces with championship belts. I want to go down the line: Miro, Brody. Lance Archer, those guys can really be a stumbling block, and that's what they should be used for, not being on television at large periods of time.
What do you think of this comment here?
So Vintage Wrestling Picker says it's crazy how far Eddie Kingston has fell from being featured from the BCC and JAS feud started with him and Jericho. Yeah, Eddie was white hot maybe 2 years ago when he got that title match against when the title match against Mox. He was white
Yeah.
hot. Dude, he was so over it all out in the match against Ishii. Kingston, they
He had
missed an
some other good.
opportunity with him.
He had some other opportunity. Like he had some other stories after that. He had the Jericho thing, didn't he?
Yeah, the Punk stuff
Fight
too.
Jericho. He had the Punk stuff. He had the Danielson. Like he had quick little stories that worked. And then like I don't know if it's the thing that happened with Sammy that's kind of cooled him off lately, or what it is. But I mean, everybody in the back, from what me and you know, seems to like him. So
yeah, there's a lot to be said about the ebbs and flows of momentum, and I think the pendulum swings both ways. And I think Eddie's momentum for now has kind of depleted to the point where he has none. And I think at some point there was a groundswell of movement for him to be potentially a world champion. We had conversations here when Punk had to be stripped of the title. We wanted the interim championship. Potentially having Kingston win that championship was something people were asking for, and it seems so out of context now that how could that even be the case with the way he's being booked? But I think eventually, my point being, as with momentum, he's eventually going to gain it again. And that's kind of the problem here in AEW. We have the ability to build guys up, or the ability to have guys gain momentum. It's about keeping that same momentum to build it for a while. There's only a few guys on AEW programming on a week-to-week basis that have built-in momentum, and a lot of them are already stars. So you need to find a way to get these guys built up and then stay relevant. I don't know if it has to be just on television or in programs that mean something. Tony Khan has an inability to keep momentum going.
yeah, he does. He did it with Wardlow. King of Waco Mundo. I don't really understand what, Kingston's been sober for a while, but what does Ruby's injury have to do with him? I don't understand this comment at all. Like, what am I missing here? Do you get this, Ace?
I'm not sure. Maybe they're dating. Is Ruby and Eddie dating? Is that part? But even so, wouldn't.
Yeah,
I'm not sure.
and then I don't believe we'll be seeing Santana again back in AEW. I think he's done there.
Yeah, he had a significant injury, and now I think his contract's expired if it hasn't already. So.
Yeah, I get that he's never stayed quiet about it, but I don't think that's interfering with what he's doing now in AEW. Like, it's just a crutch. I think you're just using to. I just don't understand the comment. But
yeah, I think, like I said, Eddie has the opportunity to be. You can heat him up at any given time. 4 weeks in a row, you can get him hot and maybe challenge MJF for the championship. You know what I'm saying? Like
100%.
You could heat him up in 4 weeks. I'm not saying he's going to beat MJF for the championship, but if you really need someone at Double or Nothing in May, who's to say you can't get him hot and have him ready to, championship contender? He has the ability to cut a promo to make you care from week to week. You just got to give him the opportunity.
And like you mentioned earlier, he instantly filled in to fight Mox when was it Lance Archer got hurt? Was he that who was he supposed to fight? And he instantly built interest in a storyline within weeks, like with a very short time remaining before a pay-per-view. So Eddie Kingston is the king at drawing interest from people. So
he's a relatable character. I think at some point, though, there's only so much TV time to go around, and people fall off the radar. And it's not, I don't think Tony Khan has ill intentions for any of the booking of Eddie Kingston. I think it's just one of those guys that he's fallen off because of other priorities, and that happens. And I think Tony Khan has to get better at keeping people on their screen. Like, is there a reason that we had the Tony Storm Eliminator match here? Why was Anna Jay losing in this match? What's the point of this?
Yeah, it didn't make any sense.
I know you wanted the Jamie Hayter and the Tony Storm moment, but you could have done it in a different way. And then you have a different way to get guys on. I mean, maybe the Takeshita match would have been on Dynamite. It would have been well served. Takeshita and Eddie Kingston.
Yeah.
In the match would have been much better here. I don't know.
You could have done a contract signing between Tony Storm and Jamie Hayter.
Something different, because these eliminator matches that mean nothing, I'm not sure exactly where the influence comes from, especially when the people lose.
Yeah.
I personally don't like the champion in non-title matches. That's just maybe my mindset. I don't like champions in non-title matches.
I didn't like when WWE started to do it to get a champ, whatever they called it, and now the eliminator matches here. It's just not a tool I like to be used to build a defense against a champion.
And a question I'd like to ask everybody is, has there been an eliminator match where someone has beaten the champion? I don't think anyone has.
In WWE, yes. In AEW, no.
Well, in AEW, yeah.
Yeah, championship contenders matches in WWE. That's what they were calling it. It's just a weak tool, like poor booking excuse, lazy booking. Like, what could we do tonight? Like, it just doesn't make any sense to me. It's the same thing as putting one of your champions, a tag team champion, in a singles match and having him pinned. I don't like it.
Agreed. The eliminator thing needs a lot more explaining and meaning. Like you have to actually have what it would really take for it to mean something. And I'm not saying I want it to happen. Is someone has to win one of them and then win the goddamn title. Then you'll have people start caring about it. But for now, it's just like Anna Jay got a title, a step before a title shot, and she didn't get it. So who cares? She goes back to the back of the line.
The championship eliminator match should be two contenders fighting to see who's going to get the championship match.
Right. Agreed. A number one contenders match. But then Tony loves his tournaments, though. That's why he's not doing those.
Yeah, I love tournaments too.
Because what's the point of a tournament if you're having,
what's the point of the whole ranking system here?
I think we're well past that. That's, we'll be
But they still have it on our site. It's time for it to go away.
Well, I lost interest when Scorpio Sky was number one contender to the AEW championship, like when he was on a losing streak. Like he had lost. What are we doing?
Yeah, I agree. All right. I think we've said all we could possibly say for tonight, Ace. But this was a fun show. Guys, if you haven't already, we're going to remind you one more time. Head over to theturnbuckletavern.com. Ace is on the button. Go like, subscribe, and follow us everywhere you possibly can. Please rate and review. It helps us so much. When you're there, make sure you join our Discord. It is the first link at the top of the page. Come and talk with us. Come hang out with us. Come watch wrestling with us. Come talk about wrestling figures. Show pictures of your pets. It's just a great place to hang out. A bunch of wrestling fans to congregate and get together. What else we have here? Anything else? When you're done, you can even call the tavern. Let them know what you thought of the wrap-up show. 304-404-2004. All you guys chatting with us tonight, call, and if you give your takes, it will be played on the flagship show. So please give us a call. We want to hear from you. 304-404-2004. Ace, why don't you tell everybody what they can look forward to this week from you and Mike?
So you guys can check out, obviously, I've been hyping it up. We get season 2 of Shot and Nostalgia. Episode 1 is going to be coming down the pike on Friday night, 7 p.m. Eastern. We're going to be having double tables, ECW. It's the start of our journey through 1995. The roster stack, you name it. Eddie Guerrero. We got Taz. We got Dean Malenko, Mikey Whipwreck, the debut of Raven. I mean, the roster is absolutely insane. We're going to be doing a shorter season. It's 12 episodes of the premier events in ECW. It's not just hardcore TV, but with the format, I was able to get all the hardcore TVs in a row. We're going to be going down the main points of what happened because it was more of a compilation episode. So if you ever watch hardcore TV on MSG back in the day, it used to just have matches. You join matches in progress. They show video packages. They show highlight packages. So it wasn't really worth the time to be doing 2 episodes of hardcore TV. We'd be here all day and there wasn't enough content. We're going to be reviewing, I think, 6 weeks of the newsletter too, for each episode, because we're going from January until mid-February of what's going on in the newsletter. They're a little bit shorter because ECW isn't covered as in detail as WCW was, but there's a lot of information to talk about: who's jumping ship, who's trying to, go somewhere else, who's bidding for Public Enemy services, what's Raven's deal when he shows up, all that good stuff. So check that out. Come join the journey. And again, I appreciate the support for all of season 1 of Shot and Nostalgia, all the well wishes, people sharing the episode. And I apologize for the technical difficulties last week. And I appreciate everybody being patient with us. I mean, it was the most frustrating week I've had here on the Tavern, as far as, because we wanted to give you guys the best possible episode of Shot and Nostalgia. It just wasn't possible. We recorded twice and the episode's 2 hours. So we were in the lab cooking up Shot and Nostalgia for about almost 4 hours. And the first one was a dud because of all the technical difficulties. And I just appreciate the support. It was not the way I wanted to go out, but people gave me enough good feedback that I feel confident that it was up to the par of what we could be doing. So we move on from WCW. And again, I appreciate the support of you guys. I apologize for the internet being a pain in the ass last week. Hopefully it was up to snuff this week. It seems like it was. I didn't get any comments as far as it wasn't working. So again, appreciate that. And Tom, thank you for coming in last week. And the last thing I want to hype up is directly following Shot and Nostalgia, I'll be airing my episode, Visits the Tavern. Joey Conway, the cause of it all, the current NYWC Fusion champion, joined me for a 2-hour conversation. So I had some technical difficulties. The audio is absolutely fine. The video is a little fuzzy. So it pissed me off. Tom was nice enough to help walk me through fixing this internet. I'm hardwired now. Hopefully I'm good to go, but we'll see. I'm going to call Optimum again and figure out what the hell's going on here. all that stuff. But yeah, exactly. Thank you, Vintage Wrestling Pickers. That makes me feel better about it. But anyway, yeah, that's going to be airing directly after. So 9 p.m. Eastern. Check it out. Joey Conway was nice enough to join the Tavern and have a conversation. He's an up-and-coming future superstar. Would not shock me to see him in AEW or WWE in, a year from now. Mark my words, he's a very, very talented dude. So doing some of the best heel work in all of the Northeast. So if you guys are anywhere near NYWC or any of his bookings, I think he'll be in Brooklyn December 19th. Forget the promotion, but check him out. He's absolutely must-see television. He is, again, I can't speak enough nice things about him. So that's what we have going on in the Tavern.
Yeah, and guys, if you haven't seen Fig Night this week or Turnbuckle Sessions, we had Steve Ozer on and we discussed the Coliseum Collection dropping last week.
Great episode.
It's a fun interview because we don't just talk about the figures, but we talk about our memories of wrestling from back in the 80s and watching Wrestling Challenge and the superstars of wrestling. So, and how different wrestling was back then and how the payoffs were. Those shows were based at the payoffs were to get you to go watch a house show. So it was much different times. It was a fun episode. If you haven't checked it out yet, check it out. And we'll be back next week. I think sessions for next week. We're going to try and see if we could get Matt on with me and Mike to discuss our trip to Full Gear. So it should be a fun episode for that. And Tyson has a question for you there, Ace. Will you be doing Attitude Era for future Shot of Nostalgia?
All the future seasons of Shot of Nostalgia are up in the air. So it's definitely a possibility. It's been in discussion. To pull the curtain back for a second, 1997 WWF was definitely in the cards. I did a full watch along of 1997, every pay-per-view, every Raw during COVID. I watched literally everything of 1997, but I'm willing to go back. I'd never dove into the newsletter. It seems like the natural progression to go somewhere like that, but I would also love to do Ruthless Aggression. We talked about doing 2003 WWE. There's so much out there. It's an endless supply of content. But yes, stay tuned. It's definitely a possibility. If enough of support comes that way where you guys want us to do Attitude Era, I'm definitely down for it because I remember it very fondly.
Yeah, guys, let us know what you want to see there because that'll definitely play a part into what to choose. Because if people want to see it, it makes more sense to do it. So.
The other thing is Shot of Nostalgia will be available on audio going forward. So ECW Season 2 will be audio. So that is a nice little treat for everybody that maybe video is not your thing and you can't get to the video and you're like driving and stuff. So will be available the next day or dropping on Saturday mornings on audio. But forgive me if I'm incorrect there, but it will be definitely dropping on audio.
That's awesome. That's news. That's great news. So
breaking news here.
Yeah, that's awesome news. I think that's it then, Ace, right?
That is all we got, dude. This was a great episode and I appreciate everyone being patient. My Wi-Fi seems like it was good. Tom, you fixed it. You're a magician. I think whatever you did, you talked nice to my computer and you made it work.
No, I definitely think hardwiring it and shutting off the Wi-Fi is definitely helps. But until next week, guys, enjoy All Out for Ace.
Full gear.
Enjoy Full Gear. Oh my gosh, I feel like Mox.
Media scrums are back too, by the way. We're gonna get media scrums.
Media scrums are back, and watch how those numbers jump for the media scrum this time, because people will be hoping to get something else, and I'm sure it won't happen. But until then, until next week, peace, love, and pro wrestling.